Welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. I am Wasbir Hussain. He may be verbose and flamboyant, but that does not give Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, an author and former United Nations Under Secretary General, the license to denigrate people of the Northeast. In a bid to corner BJP's mascot and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at a recent seminar for apparently refusing to wear Muslim skull caps on some occasions, Tharoor went ahead to say that Mr. Modi had no problem in wearing headgears offered by different ethnic groups across the country, including the Northeast. What was ridiculous on Tharoor's part was when he described the Northeastern headgears as outlandish, and his choice of words for the Naga headgears was particularly unacceptable. Tharoor said that Naga headgears were hilarious as they contain feathers. The question now is, did Tharoor say such things because he is actually insensitive? Does it reflect this widely traveled man's ignorance about the Northeast and its people? Why was he speaking about the Northeastern headgears in such a patronizing manner? Is there a broad message in what he said? Does the powerful outside the Northeast care too little about our region, its people and culture? Before we discuss the issue, let us listen in to what Shashi Tharoor had actually said.
I ask you, why does our Prime Minister, who wears all sorts of outlandish headgear wherever he goes around the country, around the world, why does he always refuse to wear a Muslim skull cap? You've seen him in hilarious sort of Naga headdress and feathers, and you've seen him in various kinds of extraordinary outfits.
All right, you have heard there Shashi Tharoor in his own words talk very hilariously, in fact, about headgears. Okay, the Northeast is both angry and surprised at Tharoor's outlandish comments. And to get a sense of the mood in the region, I am joined by four well-known panelists from Kohima: Mr. Chumbemo Patton, a social activist, and Mr. Ngukato K. Suipu, advisor of the Public Service Aspirants Nagaland, Ms. Tei Keditsu, assistant professor at the Kohima College, and Mr. Jonas Yantan, vice chairman of the Lotha Hoho Kohima. From Itanagar, I am joined by the president of the Congress Party in Arunachal Pradesh, former MP, Mr. Takam Sanjay. And at our studios in Guwahati, I have Mr. Swapnanil Barua, former commissioner and secretary to the Assam government, Dr. Sutimala Dwara of the Handic Girls College, and Mr. Debojit Towson, an AGP leader and former CEM of the NC Hills Autonomous District Council. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. I would like to go straight to you. Mr. Ngukato K. Suipu is the advisor of the Public Services Aspirants in Nagaland. Mr. Suipu, what do you make of Mr. Tharoor's remark? Were you surprised? Are you shocked? Because he is otherwise supposed to be an extremely suave, verbose, flamboyant, well-traveled author and diplomat.
As you said, I am surprised and shocked at the statement of Mr. Tharoor. I am shocked that a person like Tharoor, an intellectual, a very well-educated man, has actually termed that Naga headgear is hilarious. He even went to the extent of saying that it is outlandish and extraordinary. So by saying that, Mr. Tharoor has mocked and insulted the Naga attire, Naga culture. Not only that he had insulted our attire, our culture, but he has insulted the identity of the Nagas. Because we, the Nagas, we identify ourselves with our culture.
Right.
Now, if someone asks me who I am,
right, Mr. Suipu, hold on. Mr. Suipu, hold on to your thoughts. I'll come back to you, Mr. Suipu. Mr. Chumbemo Patton, Mr. Patton is a social activist. Mr. Patton, what are your first reactions. Were you outraged? Were you shocked? What does it reflect?
Well, it reflects the very sorry state of the awareness of our central leaders and the people, most of the people from the rest of the country about the Northeast region. And for somebody like Shashi Tharoor, who was a former UN Secretary General candidate, it's ludicrous. It's unacceptable. You know, like for us from the Northeast, when we move out to the rest of the country, we all know about their history, their politics, their way of dressing, their way of dressing. You know, we know what's a kurta, what's a pajama, you know, what's a sari, and we know about the cholas, the pandavas, the Rashtrakutas, the Marathas, the Delhi Sultanate. But over here, you have a central leader who is making a mockery of our traditions, our identity, our history. It's ludicrous. I mean, it's unacceptable.
I can understand your feelings.
At any level, it is not acceptable.
I can understand what is going on in your mind, Chumbemo Patton. Your very, very interesting opening remarks. I will come back to you, Chumbemo Patton. Let me go to Ms. Tei Keditsu. Tei Keditsu is an assistant professor of English at Kohima College. Ms. Keditsu, what thoughts crossed your mind, you know, when you first heard a man like Tharoor talk about headgears of the Northeast in such a manner? Ms. Keditsu.
My first reaction was disbelief. I couldn't believe that somebody like Mr. Tharoor, who is such a cosmopolitan man, who is well-traveled, who has represented our country internationally, can think of our headdress as something that is hilarious and outlandish.
Absolutely. Takam Sanjay, Congress leader, I'll come to you. Let me take the opinion of all our panelists, and you have a tough job ahead, I'm sure, Mr. Takam Sanjay. Mr. Jonas Yantan, who is the vice chairman of the Lota Hoho. Mr. Jonas Yantan, what do you think of what Tharoor had said?
You know, what has happened is something very unfortunate. As you have rightly said, described Mr. Tharoor, he is a very vocal and intelligent parliamentarian. And what has happened, what he said is something very, very unfortunate. We did not expect such a thing, unmindful expression from such a person. You know, what happens is any foolish statement is actually a self-defeat to oneself. And we feel.
Right. Mr. Jonas Yantan, hang on, I will come back to you. Let me come to my panelist in the studio. Debojit Hussain, how do you react? You have seen the panelists from Kohima, the panelists from Nagaland are absolutely outraged. As a prominent political leader, as an ethnic community representative yourself, what do you think of what Shashi Tharoor had said? Debojit.
Yeah, even me, I was very shocked to hear what he had commented. This is an insult not only to the Naga community as a whole or tribe. It is an insult to the whole of Northeast, basically the tribals. We all have our own headgears, and some of them we wear turbans.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's as much as the sentiments are that we'll feel insult, so much as if we say something insulting about the lungis which they wear, it's the same type of, the feeling will be the same. They'll feel insulted too. It's the same way. Thank you.
Absolutely. Srutimala Dwara, I'll come to you, Swapnil Bora. Srutimala Dwara, what do you think? What are your opening remarks?
Well, each tribe, each community has its own culture, its own food habits, dress. And if one cannot actually respect that, then I think however much you are educated, you are illiterate. And even you have traveled a lot, traveling actually widens your horizon. So if Shashi Tharoor is a much traveled person, so you have
Absolutely.
traveled a
Yeah.
lot, and this should have widened your horizon, and you should have accepted people as they are. So, like, just because you are in politics, like, being in politics doesn't mean that you are going to laugh at someone's culture, you are going to call someone's
Just
culture
because,
hilarious.
absolutely. Swapnanil Barua, Shashi Tharoor made a big goof up. He actually tried in that seminar in Thiruvananthapuram to actually corner his party's main political rival, the BJP, and its mascot, the Prime Minister. In trying to do so, he has exposed himself, he has put the Congress party itself in the dock. Swapnanil.
Absolutely, and I feel that, do you remember his cattle class comment?
Absolutely, yes.
He's been traveling too much of cattle class, and as a result of which
Is he traveling cattle class? I don't think so.
Looks like at least the cattle class mentality has rubbed into him, and he's making such comments which are not only insulting, but I again feel to make a slightly derogatory comment. I'm constrained to make it, but I feel that being a Malayali, he's used to taking dictations as stenographers. I think that bit of also.
No. Let us not take to this level, and perhaps.
But I think all said and done, I think it was not expected of him.
It was not expected of him. That is the moot point. It was not expected of him. A man like Shashi Tharoor, an author who has been widely published and of course held a very, very important post, very, very well exposed, tremendous kind of exposure that he has had in the post that he held in the United Nations. Let me go to you, Mr. Takam Sanjay, the Congress President of Arunachal Pradesh and a very veteran Congress leader of not just the state but the entire Northeast. Takam Sanjay, how would you like to defend? How can you defend actually what Shashi Tharoor had said?
See, first of all, Mr. Shashi Tharoor did not want to, disrespect any of the traditional, headgears or traditional dresses of the Northeast. The primary point which Shashi Tharoor wanted to mean was that the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, was in a reception where the Muslim clerics took out the skull cap of a Muslim community to be put on by, it was offered to Mr. Modi. Unfortunately, Mr. Modi accepted the bouquet and everything, but he disowned the skull cap to be put on his head.
Okay.
So, referring this, he says that the traditional dresses, headgears of the Nishis, of the Arunachalis, of the Nagas are being accepted by Mr. Modi, but Mr. Modi is rejecting the offer that the culture of a particular community of India, which is totally against the ethic of the office of the Prime Minister. That is what exactly he mean was.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Takam Sanjay, I might like to accept actually your explanation, but why the adjectives? Why should Mr. Shashi Tharoor describe these headgears as outlandish, and why should we call the Naga headgear hilarious? That is the question.
Outlandish. Exactly.
Takam Sanjay ji.
No, that is outlandishing the headgear and the cultural ethos of the Northeast people. In his statement by Shashi Tharoor ji is quite unfortunate. But what exactly he wanted to mean was that he wanted to put a comparative study of the behavior of the Indian Prime Minister, where he accepts some of the cultural ornaments of some people in India, and does not accept the
I would like my panelists to come in. Feel free to come in.
Which is against the...
Feel free to come in. My panelist is an open debate.
We are definitely
I would like to
the constitutional head of the country.
Basic
As a
question
Prime
is that
Minister, when he attends...
Shashi Tharoor is good enough in English to express whatever he wants. He doesn't have to refer to...
Muslim community.
It cannot be that he doesn't know English.
Shashi Tharoor is free.
equal.
I mean, yes, Swapnil Bora, you were saying he's quite a verbose. That's how I started.
He disowned the skull cap to be put on his head. And again,
if he said that, if he meant that he was good enough linguistically and literally.
Takam Sanjay ji, you have been countered by many of the panelists. He's saying that he has a
study on these two important aspects.
If he said it in Hindi, we could have accepted it. But in English,
I would like to make a very remarkable point here, Mr. Hussain. If I'm allowed to,
that is, of course, very unfortunate on the part of
Exactly,
Shashi.
that is unfortunate.
And definitely it's not a feather in his cap. All the feathers of Shashi Tharoor's cap has fallen off because of this statement.
Was that he accepts somebody's offer, but he does not. If this is the situation,
Right, Mr. Takam Sanjay.
Yes.
I mean, although you are actually trying very hard to justify, but you are also at the same time saying that it was unfortunate. I appreciate your frank comment, at least on this particular point. But let me go to Mr. Chumbemo Patton. Mr. Chumbemo, you have heard Mr. Takam Sanjay. What do you have to say?
Yes.
Chumbemo.
Yes. Takam Saab, I hope you remember me. We had fought on many Northeast issues in Delhi. Jab nasli bhed racial discriminations happened on our Northeast people, and Takam Sanjay Saab, as the Arunachal West Lok Sabha MP, that time he was based in Delhi, and we had stood shoulder to shoulder and fought for the rights of our Northeast people and to bring justice. And today, I am also happy that over and above the party line, he is somebody who has been truthful to his word and accepted that it was uncalled for the Congress leader to have made such a, intellect-filled Congress leader to have made that statement. And that corrected, and that understood, and that well taken. Takam Saab, here we are talking about a leader on whom the then Congress President, Madam Sonia Gandhi ji, had used the lines, quote unquote, "You always do it, it's become a habit with you."
Right. Now, let me go to Chumbemo. Mr. Chumbemo, kindly hold on. Mr. Nukato, Mr. Chuipo, basically, what does it reflect? Do you think it was insensitive? Do you think it is ignorance? How do you look at it? Was it an insensitive comment, or was it pure ignorance? If ignorance, is it so easy for a man like Shashi Tharoor to be so ignorant? That's the question.
Like I said earlier, I'm completely shocked that a man like Tharoor doesn't know the meaning and significance of Naga headgear. He had compared between the Muslim skull cap and Naga headgear. Now, Mr. Shashi Tharoor should know that Muslim skull cap is worn specifically by specific faithfuls of certain religion, specific religion, whereas Naga headgear is worn by people irrespective of religion.
It has cultural connotations. Yes,
it has different meaning. It has nothing associated with religion.
Right.
So, Mr. Tharoor has made a blunder. He had made a blunder. He had mocked and insulted the Nagas. So instead of defending Mr. Shashi Tharoor, the Congress party should ask Mr. Tharoor to apologize to the Naga people immediately.
That is the key. Yes. He has not apologized. Deposit Thousand, you are a politician. Shashi Tharoor is also a politician. Now my question to you is, suppose for Shashi Tharoor to err is human.
The Congress party is known for its liberal policies.
Has not decided to apologize?
It is the grand old party of India. So Mr. Shashi Tharoor is a disgrace.
Yes,
a disgrace to Congress party.
Why do you think Shashi Tharoor has not apologized?
He should apologize.
Why do you think he has not apologized?
Maybe his pride, or he thinks the way he has spoken, he thinks the whole of Northeast and the Nagas are very hilarious or very primitive. That's his idea. That's why he must be thinking in that way. Their headgear is funny, hilarious. That's his poor conception of the Northeast and he thinks very lowly about us, I think. That's why he does not care to apologize.
Now, Mr. Keditsu, just a different question. You have heard the panelists. Do you feel that Tharoor's comments as racist overtones? Do you think it is, in a way, racist? Insensitive and racist? Ms. Keditsu?
Racist? It's patronizing. It's insulting, really. I don't know if it's racist. It just shows ignorance. It shows narrow-mindedness, and it shows a great deal of insensitivity.
Now, Jonas Yanthan, Jonas, this more or less the same question. Is it insensitivity? Is it ignorance? Jonas?
By the utterance of such unhealthy, foolish statement, he has belittled himself by saying such a statement on culture, and because culture is such that we cannot, though we have the right to speak of expression, and yet no one can speak against any other's culture. Rather, in fact, India is so colorful because of the culture, but at the same time, there are a lot of issues and things which needs to be corrected. For instance, during the time of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he vocally and outrightly gone against the wrong practice called sati. Likewise, we have caste systems which need to be fought against. Now, by doing so, that will be a right direction. But to talk about someone's culture, insult someone's culture, is
nobody
not only
has the
insulting
business
the other,
to do so.
but also it
Nobody
is making
has
a fool of
any
oneself.
business to
Very unfortunately,
denigrate.
a respectable man like Mr. Tharoor has made a fool of himself by making such a statement.
Absolutely. I'll have to go for a break, but before that, Swapnalil Barua, what do you make of the whole thing? You have heard the responses of our panelists, fellow panelists rather,
So
fellow panelists.
If you ask me, I think there is a sense of hurt. I think the feeling is something like this, that you too, Brutus. All the people of Northeast had always been thinking that Shashi Tharoor was one of our representatives who would speak for us in the parliament. And here we find that he's talking in such terms which are absolutely denigrating. And as you see, there's a superciliousness in Shashi Tharoor so far as dealings in the public are concerned.
Right.
And I feel that that has rubbed off in a sense. And I refuse to accept that he is talking about these headgear. He must have been in America for so many years. He must have seen the Apache Indians with the even more bigger headgear.
Absolutely.
And he must have celebrated it and taken guests to see them in the Indian reserves that are there.
I'm sure he had visited Albuquerque and New Mexico and all these. He has seen all those.
So to say this, I think it is absolutely superciliousness, and I also feel that there is a method in this whole direction, in the sense that he is trying to appease, or rather play down the Prime Minister and try to score some brownie points.
Absolutely. Shrutimala, absolutely. A strategy totally backfired and boomeranged on Shashi Tharoor. He wanted to pin down the Prime Minister.
Yes.
He ended up having sort of putting his foot in his mouth.
Right.
Is that the situation?
Yes, I think that's the situation, because he was trying to corner the Prime Minister, but in that process, he had mocked at someone's culture, which is not done. You can hit back against your the politician on the other side, but that doesn't mean that you are going to hold a culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On this note, I'll go for a short break, but when I come back, I'll go straight once again to Mr. Takam Sanjay, Congress leader. He has a lot to defend this evening. On that note, to go for this break, we'll be coming back right after this short break. Welcome back. I'd like to go straight to Mr. Takam Sanjay, Congress leader. Mr. Takam Sanjay, many are saying that statements like these actually demonstrate the mindset of national leaders and the mainstream society towards the Northeast. That's also one of the perceptions. Do you agree to that? Is this actually what the national leaders think about people in the Northeast?
No, that is as I have said, it is unfortunate that Shashi ji should not have minced that particular word to the tribals of the Northeast, because the ethnicity of the tribals of the Northeast is one of the beauties of cultural ethos of the country. Now, this is not an isolated situation only.
Yes.
You know, the ideology of the BJP party is to ensure that what Northeast people are to be dressed, what they should eat, what they should drink. This is being dictated by the BJP party. Is the most important, slap on the face of cultural ethos of the Northeast. I absolutely agree that Mr. Shashi ji should have had, scrutiny on the word he used on our tribal headgears. But unfortunately, it is a BJP who makes much more of such slang words, such what a tribal should eat, what he should drink, what he should wear when he or she lands in New Delhi. So it is BJP is more dangerous to the people of North.
I have never heard of the BJP saying what
made by Mr. Shashi.
Mr. Takam Sanjay, I have not heard what BJP saying what the Northeastern people should wear when he lands in Delhi, but that's a different story. Let's not go into that. Chumbama Patton, Mr. Takam Sanjay is saying that this does not necessarily mean that entire national leaders have this kind of a view towards the Northeast. It could be an isolated incident. Do you agree that this is an isolated incident? Isolated statement? Chumbemo?
No, sir. Very sorry. It is not. Because let's not turn it political. Let's for once come
let's
to
not make it political.
the
Yes,
agreement,
obviously.
and we can all in unison, in one voice, let us use the same lines that he had used in one of his very marvelous debates in Harvard or
Oxford.
or was it in Oxford, where he had said, where Shashi Tharoor had said, a simple sorry will go a much further way than trying to defend and sugarcoat what you have already undone. So, it is time for even the Northeast MPs Forum to take it up over and above the party lines in the parliament.
absolutely. That is very well said, Chumbemo.
Statement.
Mr. Chumbemo Patton
is brought to understand
right
as to how he has hurt the sentiments of our people.
Very well said, Mr. Chumbemo Patton. A simple sorry could have set the things right, but that has not come. It is more than a week now. Mr. Ungato Tsuipu,
Exactly.
do you think that the Congress party in Nagaland also has a big role to play? Do you think the Congress leaders in Nagaland by now should have actually wrote to their party and extracted an apology, a simple sorry, as Chumbemo Patton has said, from Mr. Tharoor? They should have been able to get that.
Yes, very well agreed. Very well agreed. This is nothing about political. This is nothing about BJP or Congress.
Right.
But as a responsible leader, the Nagaland Pradesh Congress committee should also ask apologize, or should impress upon the Congress leaders to apologize, because by not saying a simple sorry, by not apologizing, we feel that, or we think that the Congress or Mr. Tharoor, the Congress party or Mr. Tharoor doesn't care about, even if our sentiments, our feelings are hurt. So by not saying sorry, they don't care about us. They don't care even if our sentiments are hurt, or even if our feelings are being hurt.
Absolutely. So that is the moot point. Now I'd like to once again go to Mr. Jonas Yantan. Mr. Jonas Yantan, lot of Keralites, Mr. Shashi Tharoor is a member of parliament from Kerala, Mr. Jonas Yantan. There are a lot of Keralites who have been working in Nagaland for decades. They have been serving the people, they have been walking. Do you think Mr. Tharoor may not have got in touch with even a Keralite working in Nagaland, not to speak about knowing anything about the Naga culture or the culture of the northeastern region? Mr. Jonas?
Yeah, in a way, it seems to be. He is not aware that most of the Northeast have been cultured, in fact, by his own people, by Keralites who had come to Nagaland, especially in the nook and corner of Nagaland, who have been teachers in various schools in the villages, giving all themselves with meager sustenance, with meager pay. They have contributed a lot, and we love the Keralites who had been working for us. But I think Mr. Tharoor is not aware of this, maybe because he went towards the West to be educated. And,
maybe because he went towards the
West. Did not get
West.
the opportunity to come to this side of.
Absolutely. Now let me quickly also, before
he's a boy from Calcutta who was born and brought up in Calcutta. How can he say that he not know about the Northeast? And I think, as far as I remember, he was one of the earlier writers of the Junior Statesman, which had most of its readership in the Northeast.
In the Northeast.
Yes.
So
and how can he say that he does not know about the Northeast and give such comments
absolutely.
which are
We'll have to. We will have to try and get an answer from Tharoor himself on that. But that's a very valid question, Sapnil Barua. Ms. Keditsu, what does this mean in a broader sense? A distinct lack of understanding, contempt for the people of the Northeast, which is a far-flung region, as many of our panelists are saying. Do you subscribe to this view? What do you think, Ms. Keditsu?
I think it's, yes, I do think that it's, a kind of ignorance, a kind of insensitivity, just to show us, it shows how insignificant we are. If a people matter, a group of people matter, then a person is more careful. If a group of people are perceived to be powerful or to have a voice, people are more careful about how they speak about these people. And the fact that Mr. Tharoor has very carelessly used these words with a kind of impunity also, because he seems to be, in the heat of a debate. The focus of his debate is something entirely different. And we are just a very sad, unfortunate adjective, a sad metaphor. And it shows us that we are really not so important, in his world, in his mind.
Very true. But a slightly different question, why a lot of our panelists here today, the voice coming out is ignorance. But do you think, it is also because 70 years after independence, there is not a single national school curriculum, NCERT and others, which does not even have a chapter on the Northeast, its people, its culture, its traditions. Ms. Keditsu, do you agree that had there been some textbooks, had there been at least one chapter in a textbook, things would have been different today? People like Tharoor perhaps would have picked up something from that single chapter and not talked in this manner. Ms. Keditsu.
It is, and it's a fact, it's a reality that we are a very small minority. We are a neglected part of the country. We don't really matter. And this is just one instance that illustrates to us that we really don't matter. And I don't even know if we want to matter also. I don't know if I've taken offense because I want to matter to Shashi Tharoor or anything. But that part is also,
Yeah,
yes?
but my question on the textbooks, Ms. Keditsu, textbooks, chapter on the Northeast in the national syllabus.
Hussain, if I may comment
Yes,
on
that
that.
would be good.
That's
That
one
would be good.
issue
But
that's
the
very
thing is,
close to my heart as well.
Textbooks are just one part, a small part of the problem, and the bigger problem is we really don't figure so much in, the national imagination.
Yes,
textbooks,
doesn't
I
figure
think
so much in.
First
Yes,
we have to solve the problem and then we can think of textbooks. Or I'm not sure, maybe we should figure in textbooks so that the next generation grows up thinking of us as part of the nation and thinking of us as important citizens of the nation.
Absolutely. I'll come back to my panelist in the studio. Yes, Mr. Chumbemo, did you want to say something? Yes.
Yes, yes. You know, this is one thing that's very close to my heart. And in my more than a decade as a social activist for the Northeast people in Delhi, you know, we have been demanding from the central government time and again for this very act to be implemented, as in our histories, our traditions. And like I had said in my opening remark today in our debate, you know, like when we go out, we are aware of them, but for them, they are not aware of us. So here, you know, like you say that familiarity breeds contempt, but I have another way of saying that unfamiliarity breeds enmity. And the whole country, the whole nation is reeling under this issue at this very, you know, like point of time. Because I say I am from Nagaland. In the rest of the country, I would not even say mainland, because, you know, even us, we are as much mainlanders in this country
I agree with you.
as anybody
Yes.
else. So I will not use the term mainland for others, but I will only say the rest of the country, you know. So one thing that they have to realize is that Nagaland is in the northeast part of the country, and there are people and there are students who have done their masters who ask me whether Nagaland is near England or is it near Thailand or is it near Switzerland, just because of the land,
Yes.
you know. So it's quite
Right.
appalling sometimes.
Right,
that
but
somebody
yes,
who has done their
Devojit, you
masters
want to
is
respond?
asking me,
Devojit Thousand is
you know, like
responding
where
to you.
Nagaland
Yes.
is. So
Yes,
facts and
come on,
figures like
carry
this.
on, Devojit.
See, it is very sad. That is the actually the perception of the mainland India, and not only the mainland, of the other part of India, how they perceive the Northeast as a whole. They find the whole, you know, they talk about a look Northeast, but that is the way they are looking at us. They find us funny. See, even in movies, when they want to show something tribal or something to do with Northeast, they will make their actors and actresses wear funny dresses, like, you know, with leaves and all, like Adam and Eve maybe. You know, that's the perception. That is why actually all these things
Yes.
are happening in Delhi also. They look at us as an alien.
No, as you have said, I think it is also because we are not in the curriculum. Like in the syllabus, we know each and every part of India. We know each and every part.
That is what Chumemo was saying.
Yes, but then because we don't
exactly.
figure Konaklata or
can I come in?
The independence struggle.
they don't
Yes,
figure
they
the
don't
independence movement, like our contribution from this part of India. We don't figure
Yes, yes.
because there's nothing about us in
Now,
the syllabus.
let me take this to Mr. Nukato. Mr. Unkato, you know,
Yes, yes. I would
to
like
what
to come
extent?
in.
To what extent is the
I would like to
political
come in.
class
Yes.
responsible? Mr.
Yes.
Chuipui,
Yes.
Chuipo, well, you know, we have got 25 MPs. 25 MPs, it may be small, but there are 25 of us who are supposed to be representing us in Parliament. What are they doing? And 70 years after independence, our elected representatives have not been able to convince the Union HRD ministry that there should be one single chapter on the Northeast in the NCERT and other curriculums. Isn't it? They have a lot to answer today.
Yes, yes. Yes, absolutely, they have a lot to answer. It is their responsibility, but they have been sleeping over their responsibility. Now, what we are discussing here now, Mr. Tharoor had just spoken the accumulated thoughts and perception of Indian intellectuals towards the Northeast people. He is one of the few examples. This is nothing new. This has been happening. I am shocked that many so-called educated educated Indians doesn't know where Nagaland is located or where Arunachal Pradesh is located. So the reason for not knowing, for them not knowing our history, our culture, or our identity is because our history, our stories are not included in their curriculum. So it's high time that the history, the stories of the Northeast people are also included in the curriculum.
Absolutely.
So that they will study, they will learn about the Northeast people.
Correct.
Yes.
Now,
so I do agree.
Mr.
It's very high time that our MPs, the 25
Absolutely, high time.
MPs, put aside their differences and put their heads together and pursue this matter.
Yes. They can all,
committee report has to be
our
implemented.
politicians can play politics. There was a thousand, this message is for you as well. Politicians can play politics over other issues, but when it concerns the region, the collective interest of the region, its
Should be
people and
united.
interest, I think they should shed their differences and talk in one voice, which is unfortunately lacking. So that is a point. I'll take your comments a little later. But Mr. Takam Sanjay, as a veteran Congress leader from the region, would you like to educate? Would you like to take up the responsibility of educating at least one person in your party, that is Shashi Tharoor, when you meet him next? And are you going to at least request the party president, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, to rein in such leaders? Mr. Takam Sanjay.
No, surely we will have, I will have a personal interaction. I would like to meet Shashi Tharoorji. He is a very eminent person. It must have been a slip of tongue. It may not be the intention, his deep-rooted intention to slap the face, the culture and ethos of the Northeast people. But it is very unfortunately that he should have properly and very minutely used an English word which would suit the people of the Northeast. But while saying so, Wasbirji, I would like to point out, in 2009, when I took an oath as a member of parliament in the 14th Lok Sabha, I put a Nishi headgear in the parliament. Mrs. Maneka Gandhi, a BJP MP, now the present Union Minister of the BJP government, strongly criticized that why I should put headgear in the parliament and why the feather has been used, why the beak of hornbill should be used. So see, it is not Shashi Tharoor alone who has made so much of a derogatory statements. Mrs. Maneka Gandhi and the many BJP leaders have also used so much of strongest terms and criticized me for having put on headgear of the Nishi tribe in 2009. Now, whom should we blame? It's not Shashi Tharoor alone whom we should blame. We should.
I think Swapnil Barua,
Yes.
I think what Takam Sanjay said, that reflects, that's what I was asking. What is the broad message that you are getting? It is a broad sense that you are getting from this. It's absolute lack of knowledge about the region, and for which we are going back to that syllabus. I'll come to you, Shrutimala, on this. That syllabus issue. I think our MPs, our state government must make efforts this time round to actually have a curriculum, have a chapter in the NCERT and the CBSE curriculums.
Sure, absolutely. I think this is the need of the hour, and not only that, we have a specialized ministry called Donor trying to attend to these problems, and I think that their efforts have not been good enough, so far at least, that such a situation exists in the mind of one of the brightest, whom they call the brightest minds of the Indian Parliament. Leave aside the party affiliations apart. In this context, I would like to possibly think in terms of the perception, the northeastern policy of the government of India over the ages, that the affection or the concern which was there in the days of Nehru and Vera Elwin being located here, and how he tried to really develop the, there was a talk about bringing 1,000 farmers from Punjab and settling them in Arunachal. Those kind of thinking versus the Hindiization of the province, and trying to get in certain elements which are not absolutely in sync with this region as it had been developing. There is also a policy concern which the northeastern MPs, in addition to the syllabus, might take it up with the Home Ministry as to how the Government of India or the Parliament of India thinks about the whole thing, so far as how to deal with the entire Northeast, and also bring it into the national mainstream if they feel that it is excluded.
Absolutely. Let me go to Jonas Yanthan. Jonas, your opinion on having a chapter or a textbooks on the Northeast, which is certainly not a periphery. You cannot describe not the Northeast as a periphery, actually. As Chumbemo said, or as I think Mukato Suipu has said, We are the mainstream. We are also the mainstream. So, Jonas, how do you put it?
I would very much agree with you that there is not even a single chapter on the Northeast. And that is one of the reasons why the people in the mainland are not so much aware of the people this side. And so it is high time that the government of India see to it, especially the NCRT, to include at least a chapter on the Northeast.
Now, what is the role of our parliamentarians? 25 MPs we have. They have not uttered a word. They have, in the last 70 years, they have not thought it necessary to raise this issue collectively or even individually, perhaps, with the HRD ministry or the authorities in charge of these chapters, putting chapters and approving textbooks.
Very true. We have come such a long way now, almost 67, 68 years of independence. And till today by now we should be having politicians, parliamentarians who are vocal in the affairs of the people. But unfortunately that is not being seen even today. It is high time that our politicians
Ms.
rise up to the
what do you
occasion.
think? Ms. Kaditsu? Ms. Kaditsu?
Oh, I can't speak for them. I don't know what they're doing, and I'm sure they are representing us. I'd like to think that at least the MPs from our state are doing a lot to try and get us represented, but at the end, the decision lies with, the HRD and the people who make the textbooks. So I wouldn't go as far as blame our MPs for us not figuring in national textbooks.
No, Shrutimala, I mean, like, we have, Northeast is perhaps the only region in the entire country where every ethnic group, every community, whether it is an ethnic group, whether it is a non-ethnic group, everyone has a student organization.
Yes.
Most of them also have a militant organization representing them. It's very surprising. We have the mainstream electoral politics being played by people like Devojit Hussain, who is at the moment an AGP leader. Devojit, I'll come to you. Bear with me. And we have insurgent politics represented by insurgent groups, and we have student politics. We have three forms of politics in the Northeast. But nobody talks about these issues, Shrutimala.
Yeah, that is, I think, the most unfortunate thing about it. That well, you can't say that nobody is talking about it, or like as an organization, yes, nobody. But their individual efforts have been there. I have, recently I talked to Sheila Bora. She had also said that she was actually trying to put in the history of this region, and she's trying her best. Now it's up to the people at the center also. Like, you can only appeal, but then if that appeal is not accepted, what do you do?
That pressure has to come from mass organizations,
Yes,
mass-based organizations.
Wasbir, that is what I feel, is that, we have not been able to utilize the national media for projecting what is our needs. We have left it to those 25 parliamentarians.
I'll come to you, Chumbemo.
But there have been so many people now living and working, and even student organizations very active in the national capital and other important metros of the country. It is about them that they should also have
take up this matter,
take up this issue and project the Northeast in whatever level they can do it, and use the media that is available to them.
Yes,
Exactly.
Chumbemo, you are saying something. Mr. Chumbemo Patton, you are saying something. Chumbemo.
Yes. Hussain, I was a part of the team who were out on the streets in Jantar Mantar in Delhi, demanding for justice after the cold-blooded murder of one Arunachali boy by the name Nido Thania, in Lajpat Nagar. Now, after that fateful and sad incident, we were out on the streets demanding, and we were out in Jantar Mantar indefinitely until there was something tangible which was shown by the government of India during that day. So the Congress government then had constituted the Bezpura committee, and the Bezpura committee had widely traveled and collected facts and figures from the people in the ground. Exactly, and that is still lying in the back burners. I think if in case at least the Best Pura committee recommendations are once implemented, then we will see some change and we will be walking towards a brighter horizon for the whole Northeast region.
Very well said.
I think we all need to get together,
the
form
committee,
one conglomerate and fight for that.
Absolutely. The committee that the Government of India constituted with MP Bes Barua, the former tourism secretary, is gathering dust somewhere in the corridors of power. Devajit Thousand, I have to go for a break, but before that, yes, Devajit.
What I want to mention here is there are many parliamentarians in both the houses of our parliamentary system, but then there are only a very, very few of them who are very vocal, and some of them are even seen sleeping during the session. So if this is the state of affairs, you can't expect them to talk about textbooks and all that. But
absolutely,
if we have not done it now, this is high time you do something.
I think we should wake them up and, the collective voice of the Northeast must be heard physically and
also,
in the loudest of decibels.
It makes me wonder, why do we always in the Northeast have to go for agitation or movement or demand to be noticed? South India or West India or Middle India did not have to demand that we have to be in the syllabus. Why do we have to always demand for our rights?
Absolutely, very well said. I think that is a moot point. Why does people in the Northeast always have to agitate, go into an agitation to achieve even their basic necessities, like having a syllabus to talk about its people, to talk about its culture, to talk about its tradition? On this note, I'll go for a short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Mr. Takam Sanjay, at the end of the day, it's an issue of insensitivity. The problem is lack of sensitivity towards the Northeast to a great extent, and I think the political class have also failed us. Mr. Takam Sanjay.
Absolutely. See, Northeast, some people in India, especially mainland India, have forgotten that there are 4 or 5 important group of people in India. The eastern sector mainly consists of the Mongoloid race, then Austric race, Dravidian, Aryan, so on and so forth. So people of the mainland India needs to understand the deep socio-economic aspect of people of Northeast, and they should treat us equally at par with the rest of India. We are never a second citizen of India. We are absolutely great, contributor of India's economy, India's political ethos, and the constitutional growth has also taken all along with the people of Northeast.
Right, absolutely. Ms. Tei Keditsu, as Mr. Chumbemo Patton has said, a little sorry could have done the trick. That could have, solved matters to a great extent, but even that has not come from Mr. Tharoor. No, he has not apologized so far. Ms. Keditsu, is it so difficult?
This is just, the word that I used earlier was impunity, and it is just that, because there is no real consequence to Tharoor whether we are offended. We actually don't really have any power over him. We cannot do anything to him, and it is very, very sad, that somebody picks on a group of people that have done nothing to him, that can actually do nothing to him, and we are just one unfortunate adjective in his, flourishing speech, and we don't matter to him. It's very sad, it's very unfortunate, but that is the reality.
Should we let him go like that? I mean, at least we must make our voice heard to him, and somehow
but
I'm sure...
you guys are doing just that, isn't it? You guys are doing just that. Mr. Jonas Yantan, same question to you. Do you think Shashi Tharoor, why is he finding it so difficult to just tender an apology? Or do you think he has just not said anything wrong at all.
Now, to err is human, but now for a person like Shashi Tharoor, a man of high knowledge and learning and experience, I think if he does not apologize, then he will be looked upon by people, looked down upon by people as someone who cannot be relied upon anymore. And so if he wants to really regain his image, he has no other choice but to apologize for the mistake that he has made.
Swapnil Barua, man of knowledge.
Hardly, I mean, if he behaves like this, we can hardly call him a man of knowledge. As I said earlier, that this supercilious attitude of Shashi Tharoor has definitely got to do.
So let's broaden. Swapnil Barua, let's broaden the issue.
Another thing.
Shashi Tharoor.
I'll just take it this way. That this method, as I had said, there is the apology not coming forward instantly. And it is a small group of people who are affected, so it really wouldn't have made much of a political difference, as I feel. But he somehow feels that politically, if I apologize, it may show him as someone who is sympathetic to a smaller group of people, and in the process, a larger group of people may be unhappy. I mean, why is he showing so much of concern to these small matters, which is just a few parliamentary seats, in the process of losing a substantial amount of minority votes, maybe? I see it as that way. And I feel that, the apology not coming forward is basically for that reason, is that he tends to politically gain out of it. And I think the more we raise the voice against this, I think he'll love it all the more to say that, look, here I am speaking on your behalf. And that is why possibly there's so much of noise is being made in the Northeast. And the consequences are such that they may not politically be very damaging.
So, Mr. Yes, Devojit was saying something?
Yeah, here I feel this is not much about knowledge. This is about perception. He may have a lot of knowledge about it. He may have full knowledge. I am sure he has knowledge about Northeast. A well-read person like him will be.
And he keeps on visiting the place.
Yes, but then here it's about a perception and how he perceives things, and how he, in fact, is looking down upon the people of the Northeast. So he's not apologizing.
Yeah.
I think because of his arrogance.
Now, Mr. Chuipu, what should be an appropriate response? Intellectual response, a cultural response. This is what I mean. What should be an appropriate intellectual and cultural response? Let's not look at it only as Shashi Tharoor. Let's basically look at it as a broader issue. What should we do in the Northeast so that people talk about us in the right perspective?
Mr. Wasbir, I'm sorry, my line got disconnected and I couldn't follow up the previous, the discussion. However, I feel on our part, we Northeast people, we have been portraying ourselves to the other counterparts, I don't want to call it mainlanders, other counterparts. So on our part, see, this is how people see us. There is nothing to do extraordinary. This is our culture, our identity. We have been doing it properly. So it depends on the people who is seeing us. Not the problem is not with us. What I think is.
Mr. Chumbemo Patton, the same question goes to you. It is not about Tharoor alone. What should the Northeast, what should you and me, people like us do so that people outside the region look at us in the correct perspective? What should be done? What is your prescription?
Hussain, I will be very particular and direct here. We do not require to do anything else. It is not rocket science to be, noticed and seen and be heard of in the whole country. As much as anyone does, as much as any other citizen lives in this country, we are also living. And what extra do they expect us to be noticed? It's time for them to do some serious thinking. And let me call out a very clear bluff in this. irrespective of intellectual, how well read the like particular gentleman that we have been referring to so far, maybe, but he has shown what is in his subconscious mind, like by unmindfully, using those statements. And
I agree with you.
And one important thing is media being the fourth pillar of democracy. Like media around the country needs to pick up such issues and educate and school the Indian citizens.
Absolutely, Chumbemo. It is not rocket science. It is not rocket science, Chumbemo Patton. The media also has a lot of role to play. It is, yes, Chumbemo, if you can hear me, it is not rocket science. I agree with you. Media also has a lot of role to play to educate people in the correct perspective. Shrutimala, you agree? I mean, what should we do? Or do we not have to do anything at all?
Are we trying hard to prove that, like, look at Northeast? So should we do that, like, go out of our way and look at Northeast? The only thing which I find now is like,
but Shrutimala, we want people to look at us, but look at us in the right perspective.
Look at us in the right perspective, right? Because, like, we have been on the national media all for the wrong reasons, be it for the insurgency, be it for the agitation. That is how the people got to know us. But before that, no one, you can say, almost like, very few people outside this part of the Northeast knew us. Exactly. Only the agitation has put us on the like map. So, like, that is all for the wrong reasons. But if you say for the right reasons to know about us, as I said, I think we should be in the syllabus. We should, that people should know about us, and also, like, as if India stops at West Bengal. It's always like this.
Chumbemo, I was at a big conclave in New Delhi recently. The topic of the conclave was the Northeast on the map of the mind. How do you like this title for the topic? I mean, title for that conclave, Northeast on the map of the mind.
Yes.
Okay, we have lost that line to Chumbemo. Swapnil Barua, I mean, Northeast on the map of the mind.
I think, although normally it would seem that we should not be so bothered about reaching out to the national level of the mind, I think since the initiative has not come from there, I think, like as we have done in all previous occasions, really to reach out. If the mountain doesn't come to you, you go to the mountain, as they say. So I think we must much more reach out than just an odd festival here, but it depends on our student communities who are pursuing there and have their associations and all, to really make out and be supported by the government in this. I think the government has not been supporting our efforts of those student organizations to really make the culture of the land available. And in the context of, these kind of conclaves we are seeing, I mean, the student meets that they are holding, it's something of celebration in between themselves within the community. I think they also have a point to reach in and call in their friends and see.
Very well said.
I think that is where we have to really tell our young boys and girls that when you do your celebrations of Bihu or any other festival, Mopin or something, please include all your friends from the other communities and see that they participate.
Don't allow yourself to be in ghettos, don't have a ghettoized mentality, deposit thousands.
And the government has to definitely support our student organizations.
Yeah, government has a big role to play, isn't it? Does Northeastern state government's deposit?
Yes, they have got a good, big role to play.
How can they play? What kind of a role they can play, for example?
I think they can raise their voice in the parliament, or say, like, they have their own prime minister and their home minister. The whole government is there. Like,
and one meeting was big.
Another thing is not only about the government, all the political parties.
All the political parties. That's what I was about. That's what I was coming to. It is not a question of this government alone or the ruling party alone. It's the responsibility of the political class as a whole. Swapnil Borga was saying something. I'll come to you.
As I was saying, this one kind of thing, we also lack in one thing, that projecting the Northeast is, I think we have not been able to project it as a unified Northeast in the national scenario. Somehow it has been isolated efforts. On the contrary, Delhi thinks of us or the rest of the country thinks of us
As a single unit.
a single unit.
Yes.
I think there is where we
That
have
is
to
the
come.
problem.
Because
Northeast
I tell you
is not a homogeneous unit.
Exactly,
Yes.
like
You
you know,
know,
we have always been portrayed as if like it's a blanket. The
it's a
northeast means
blanket
one
kind of
state.
thing. And
Right.
I tell
Actually,
you,
people say that like some I have heard Shillong is the capital of Assam even today.
and
You
another
hear.
thing is that we have been making our presence felt in sports, and I think sports could be a very excellent media of projecting. I tell you because it was because of this particular reason where we had the centenary of Dr. T. Rao, and rest of India did not know that the first Indian captain of the first Olympic team of
Was
India
Dr.
was
T. Rao, who played barefooted.
who played barefoot, and he was the first national icon from the Northeast much before Bhupen Hazarika really came into the scene.
Right,
So these kind of projections we have to do.
Let me go to Mr. Takam Sanjay once again. Mr. Takam Sanjay, you know, coming back to Mr. Shashi Tharoor, a lot of people, many think that it amounts to what he said amounted to actually verged on racism. But the fact remains that he has not apologized. And the question is, why can he not apologize? A little sorry, as Chumbema Patton in Kohima has said. Why has he not apologized so far? Mr. Takam Sanjay.
I do not know how strong is the word that Shashi Tharoor had used to mean or to disgrace the people of Northeast. I absolutely don't agree that he had he being a very important leader of the nation and a responsible leader of the country, he absolutely did not mean to disgrace any one of our culture or tradition of the Northeast, because I have personally interacted with him, a man of eminence, a man who read each and every culture. So I am sure there must have been a slip of tongue to spell his grievances, to cast a comparative study on the behavior and activity of Mr. Narendra Modi while accepting a gift for a particular community and reject somebody's skull cap and says, I don't want to put on. This is more disgrace, more discriminatory than what Shashi Tharoor has made. This has to be very clearly understood.
But my question, Mr. Takam Sanjay, Shashi Tharoor could have apologized when the large part of people, in the large number of people, wide cross-section of people across the spectrum are very, very offended and disappointed with what he said. Why is he not saying sorry? That's a simple question. Mr. Takam Sanjay, you have to answer this.
Does he mean to say that just because of his intention?
No, exactly. I mean is, soon I am meeting Shashi Tharoor ji, and we used to meet now off and on, and I would, if his intention is very clear, very surely I would like to approach him and say sorry if he meant it to be really true. But if it has been, so some people have considered it to be a slang. But you know, our culture, our tradition, what somebody says about us doesn't mean anything to us. And this is, I don't think it's a disgrace to us. So one who uses a word should able to understand, should able to express their immense, you know, respect for each and every community. No one can be kept in isolation.
Right. I'll come to you, Debojit. I'm Mr. Chumbemo. This question is to Mr. Ngukato Suipu and Mr. Chumbemo. First, yes. Mr. Chumbemo. You know, now I have very little time. I'm almost coming to the end of this debate. Mr. Chumbemo, what would you expect, for example, the Chief Minister of Nagaland and important civil society organizations like the Naga Ho-Ho, the Naga Tribes Council, the Naga Students Federation, what do you expect from them today? It's not about Shashi Tharoor alone. It's not about, you know, criticizing Shashi Tharoor or condemning his remarks. It's a broad issue now. What would you expect your Chief Minister and important organizations like Ho-Ho, Naga Ho-Ho and NSF and Naga Tribes Council to do from now on?
Oh, well, I think they are quite well aware of the issues faced by our people However, it will also require the initiatives of people like you and me. I say you and me here because me, as somebody from the state who has personally been engaged in all these activities for ensuring justice, and the media houses also to show the right things and the right happenings in order to educate and sensitize the people. Like one small point I would like to make here, like Hussain. See, whenever there is a bomb blast or there are shootings around in the Northeast, then it makes it to the headlines. I mean, news headlines, all the big media houses, bomb blast, grenade blast, IED blast, this and that. But when things as marvelous, as a marvelous piece of history, like in Koyama, the Second World War fought between the Japanese, and the British. You even have the Second World War tanks and jet fighters, and then the battles of Saraikat in Assam, or you have this Kepul Lamjau in Manipur, like remarkable things never shown on the media. Whereas if there's a bomb blast, there's an IED blast, it makes it to the headlines.
Yes, you have a point. So, you have a point
like
there.
That issues need to be raised, and I'm sure you would also do your part.
That is a point which the media has to note, particularly the media from outside. Mr. Suipu, what do you think? What are your concluding remarks?
Yes. I think our civil societies, our leaders, the Naga leaders, the CM, they are also doing their bit. But at times, the certain leaders and political parties and NGOs, civil societies, they tend to comment or to react to get political mileage, to get political favor. So I would request our civil societies, our leaders to pursue these kind of matters like the Shashi Tharoor's incidents with sheer seriousness. And if we are coming to a concluded part, I would like to, with dear permission from you, I would love to leave a message. I would love to leave a message.
Go ahead.
India is a land of unity in diversity. Then Northeast India is an epitome of India's unity in diversity.
Absolutely.
Without Northeast India, India is a land of diversity, but not unity. So if India wants unity, she should take Northeast along with her. She should unite with Northeast first. If India wants peace, she should make peace with Northeast India. If India wants respect from outside and within, then
I think very well
India
said.
wants development,
very well said there. I'm running absolutely short of time. I'm running absolutely. Very well said, Suipu. Very well said there. I'm running short of time. I'd like to go to Mr. Jonas Yantan. Do you think the Congress in Nagaland has a role today? Do you think the Congress party in Nagaland has a role, Jonas Yantan?
I cannot push anything on the political parties, especially the Congress, but it is for them to realize and do the needful if they really want their party to be acknowledged by people here in Nagaland.
Absolutely. Devasit Thausan, what do you think at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, I'd like to say, I totally disagree with Mr. Sanjay Takam. It's not the intention, whether he wanted to hurt our sentiments or not. He has said something and that has hurt us, the Naga people and the Northeast as a whole. Whether you meant it or not, whether you said it lightly or not, if there's a slip of tongue, it happened because it's at the back of your mind. So we demand that you apologize, and you apologize unconditionally, whether it is
subconscious mind.
Whether it is done intentionally or not.
Absolutely. Swapnanil Barua.
I can only borrow a line from Ramachandra Guha, who's a great friend of Shashi Tharoor, I presume, that you can't, savage the civilized, as that's the name of a book Ramachandra Guha has written. We have our own culture, it's bright and colorful and has its own place which contributes towards the culture of India. Let us all realize that, and if they have not realized it, let us all Northeasterners get together and make all the world, why India, realize that we are a great cultural entity tucked away in this part of the country.
Absolutely. Yeah, why not? Sutimala.
Yeah, just as we know about the rest of the states of India, without them taking any effort, we also would like to be known, and not Northeast as one state. We are 7 states,
exactly.
and people should realize that.
I
The
fully
rest of
endorse
India
that.
should realize that we are 7 states with each different culture, and the culture to be respected and not to be insensitive about it.
No, but I mean, we are coming at the end of the debate very quickly, Sutimala, since you raised this point. You said that we also should be known, but should we not do anything about it ourselves? Do we ourselves don't have a role?
How do we project ourselves? As I said, we know about the rest of India because we have read about them. In our school days, we have read about each of the states. But I don't know whether the rest of India has read about Northeast India in their curriculum or not.
Absolutely. Although you are an educationist, you obviously cannot put a chapter there. At the end of the day,
No,
these
by
are
the way,
political
another
decisions which the lawmakers will have to take. At the end of the day, the buck has to stop at the court of politicians who are in charge of education in this country. So they have a big role, and the other politicians and the political class who represent us in parliament have to shout and make our demands heard. That is extremely important. Mr. Takam Sanjay, you have been in a very difficult situation today, trying to defend the indefensible, but you have been very, very frank in saying that it was very unfortunate on Tharoor's part. I appreciate that. What do you have to say at the end of the day?
No, it's absolutely, what I have very clearly, Wasbir, I have very clearly said it must have been a slip of tongue. He did not mean what exactly he meant. So the entire attention of his statement has been diverted because his intention and his attention was to the Prime Minister. But again, it has been diverted back to drag on our culture, on our tradition. Very unfortunately, Shashi Tharoor ji has made. But the prime question is that the Prime Minister of India accepts somebody and rejects somebody's offer. This is the biggest, laughing stock of Indian history as a Prime Minister of the country.
Okay, I'm sure my panelists would like to argue with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Takam Sanjay. But Ms. Thei Keditsu, the last words to you. What is the road ahead? Would you like to invite Shashi Tharoor to Nagaland? Ms. Keditsu.
I think that is the way. As well-traveled as he is, this is a lesson that no one is fully well-traveled. There's always more parts of the world to discover. And so this is one part of the world that he has yet to discover. And hopefully when he comes to Nagaland and he sees us in our headgear, and hopefully when we put a headgear on him, he will not think it's hilarious and he will not be laughing.
Wow, that is very well said. We will invite him to Nagaland, and when you put the headgear on him, he will not find it hilarious, and Shashi Tharoor would not be laughing.
Exactly.
Mr. Chumbemo and Mr. Tsuipu, I think it's very well said by your colleague
And
from
I would
Nagaland.
like a selfie with him with a headgear.
Absolutely. So the headgear is waiting in Nagaland to be presented to Mr.
I would like a
Shashi
selfie
Tharoor.
with him with the headgear.
Shashi Tharoor. But before that, I only hope he apologizes and eases the situation so that he can get an invitation from the Nagaland. And at least this is the least he can do is to apologize to the people of the Northeast.
On him.
Oh, absolutely. On this note, I thank all my panelists for participating in this very engaging and interesting debate. Thank you very much indeed. And with this, I end this edition of Northeast Tonight. Good night and goodbye.